NFL show is brought to you, as always, by the Lawnmower 3.0, and that would be Manscaped. You can use the promo code TGT20. They just launched in the UK, and now if you're in England watching us, which I know some of you are, you can actually get it. It is their third-generation trimmer, and really, I mean, it does make your testes the besties, doesn't it, Sam?
I think that's going to be a phrase we're going to be hearing a lot on the show from here on out. But no, I said as the Bucs stuff, Bucs promotional stuff, it's been great. I got to try a little bit of all of it out at this point and really appreciate it. It's a great product. And if you can use promo code TGT20, you get 20% off your first order. I would highly recommend it. It's basically taking 20% off. Really, for this stuff, it's quality's work. 20% off makes it even better.
Plus, it's free shipping, and it lets you be clean from your bush to your tush.
You're really pulling out all the phrases and sayings here to make this as interesting as possible.
Yeah, well, we're supposed to make it as interesting as possible. Let's talk about last night, which was a lot more interesting than people thought. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the New York Giants. Questionable call in the two-point conversion. What was your takeaway here? I mean, to me, what this is I think the Bucs are the best team in a very flawed NFC. But what we saw yesterday is they did win the game. And that's the important thing here, is to win games you're supposed to win, Sam.
Yeah, I think they're fine moving forward. I know it's a bit of a hiccup game, but really, you look at it, the defense only gave up 23 points. It's not really that bad. Tom Brady didn't have a bad game. He actually had a pretty good game. So to me, this isn't a big issue. Are there concerns a little bit in the secondary with the running game moving forward? Yeah, I think there are for Tampa Bay, but this is not big. I'm not really concerned about this. I think we'll move on. They might play down to the level of their competition every now and then, but really, to me, this is not a huge deal.
Yeah, and I think Rob Gronkowski, I don't think he's what he used to be. But the thing about Gronk is when the game's on the line, he's still clutch.
Yeah, and he's playing much better the past couple of weeks. I mean, 4 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. You're not going to get the old Gronk back at this point. You just won't, because of all the injuries and he's aging and took the time off. But at the same point, if you can get 40 to 60 yards from Rob Gronkowski every week, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and the Giants did have their classic uniforms from 1990 when they won the Super Bowl. I think Joe Judge is doing a good job with this team. I think they played hard again. But Daniel Jones played well for a lot of the game, but it seems like when it's on the line, nothing good comes of it. He made a couple of huge mistakes again last night that you can't have from a guy that was a first-round pick. And he was, the 5th or 6th player in the draft that was taken. So when I look at this, I think the biggest question with the Giants is, what do you do at quarterback?
Yeah, you're going to have to get a new one, because really, you look at their last 4 losses. The last 4 losses the Giants had, they lost by combined 14 points. This could be a 4-4 team right now. They could have the lead in this division if they just had a quarterback, but they don't. They have Daniel Jones. He cannot connect on the deep balls. He's constantly on different pages than his receivers. And we've seen the inaccuracies. He had a play where he was basically in the grasp of a defender. He threw it and ended up throwing an interception instead of just throwing the ball away. Mistakes like that. He's been making that for over a year now. He's got to go. I mean, he's just bad. He's not an NFL quarterback.
So my big question is this. This has gone on more than Dwayne Haskins in Washington. Why does Daniel Jones not catch the grief that Dwayne Haskins does?
That's a good question. I don't know. Is it because he won the first game he played last year wasn't like Tampa Bay and he played well? Is it just because he's riding high on some stuff he did in the past, or is it because of I don't actually know. I don't have a good answer for that.
I don't think there's as much stuff he can ride on. And the thing that concerns it, Haskins was like the 17th pick. Jones was the 5th or 6th pick. And Jones has even had an extra year, and he hasn't got this right yet. So it makes me wonder what the difference is here. Why not? And he's in New York, which, I mean, D.C. is a big market. The Washington football team has a history. Of course, this is the Redskins. But I just wonder why Daniel Jones doesn't get the scrutiny that Dwayne Haskins does. And, I mean, I don't know if race plays an issue. I don't know what plays an issue here. You got a guy from Duke as opposed to Ohio State. Maybe that's it, just because more was expected because you're from Ohio State. But if more was expected, Daniel Jones would have been picked 10 or 11 selections higher the year before. So when we look at this, I think the New York Football Giants have the pieces. I think they have the coach. They just need to get a quarterback, Sam.
Yeah, and that defense, I think the defense for the Giants is for real. I mean, they have good players back there. We talked about Dexter Lawrence. He made a couple of plays the other day. I mean, he was great at Clemson, but he's been even better at the NFL level than I thought he would be. Blake Martinez has struggled in coverage in the past, but he was all over the field the other day. You got James Bradbury. Leonard Williams had a sack. He had trouble towards the end of his time in the New York Jets. I mean, they've got players defensively. I think that unit could carry this team. But again, you're making mistakes on offense with Daniel Jones throwing 2 interceptions a game. You can't be doing that because that ruins everything your defense sets you up for.
All right, let's go ahead. And it is Tuesday, which means it's time for Sam Teets' NFL quarterback rankings. And we're going to start off with numbers 1 through 5. And when I look at the 1 through 5, Sam, you got Russell Wilson at number 1, Patrick Mahomes at number 2, Tom Brady at 3, Aaron Rodgers at 4, Ryan Tannehill at 5. The top 4, I think, are solid. I think that's the position they should be in. And I got no problem with your top 4. I do have an issue with number 5, but we'll get that in a second if you want to talk about the first 4 first.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson had that one bad game. And I said before, I'll give quarterbacks maybe one bad game per year because Aaron Rodgers has had one, Russell Wilson's had one. You can make the argument Ryan Tannehill already had one. So I wanted to give these guys an opportunity to not necessarily push them all the way down to try after just one bad game. Russell Wilson obviously didn't play well against the Cardinals, but he bounced back against the 49ers, had basically a perfect game, or as perfect as you could ask for. The Seahawks crushed the division rival. Patrick Mahomes did everything to the Jets we thought he would do, 5 touchdowns. That was great. Tom Brady, even though they were playing in a close game, as I said, he really didn't have a bad night. He's been good for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are rolling. They're the best team in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers had that one turnover on the final play of the game against Minnesota. Other than that, he had a very good game as well, even though they lost.
All right, number 5, Ryan Tannehill, 6, Deshaun Watson, 7, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow should be number 5, Sam.
Are you sure? You're sure you're being totally unbiased there, not absolutely being a homer in the selection?
All right, so who would you rather have as a quarterback on your team, Ryan Tannehill or Joe Burrow?
Ryan Tannehill, based on what he's done the last 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, really.
There's no way. Ryan Tannehill's not it. Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback from here on out, and he'll be top 2 or 3 within the next year. And he'll be consistently top 2 or 3. A 106.7 passer rating. He beat Ryan Tannehill. He outplayed Ryan Tannehill, and he did it with less talent on his team than Ryan Tannehill did. I mean, he was missing Joe Mixon as starting running back. And they still torched the Tennessee Titans. He was 26 for 37, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I think Joe Burrow is being underrated by most people right now. And I mean, I think Joe Burrow is a top 5 guy. And I don't think for 1 second, if I gave you a team and said, go pick your quarterback, Ryan Tannehill or Joe Burrow, I don't think you're taking Ryan Tannehill.
All right, let me put it this way. Joe Burrow has struggled against Baltimore. He didn't have a great game. He didn't have a very good game against Indianapolis. He didn't have a fantastic game against the Chargers the first time out in the first game he played. He's had a couple of questionable games here. It's not like he's been straightforward.
The Chargers, no, that's crap. Because when you look at this, Ryan Tannehill just had a bad game. He's had other bad games this year. That wasn't his first bad game. And he's doing it with a lot more talent. I mean, to sit here and to tell me that Joe Burrow is now better than Ryan Tannehill is nuts. And I think Ryan Tannehill is a hell of a quarterback. But I know what I see. I mean, without Randy Bullock missing an easy field goal, the Bengals would have beat the Chargers. And remember this, Joe Burrow made a drive 80 yards right before the miss or to get him in position to win the game. That was the first game he'd ever played in the NFL with no training camp, no OTAs. I mean, no preseason games. So I think what we're seeing here with Joe Burrow is maybe the greatest rookie season a quarterback's ever had so far, just because of no OTAs, no preseason, no training camp, really. Not a real training camp where you hit each other.
He's leading the league in completions and pass attempts, so his numbers are going to be a little bit high in terms of the yardage. 11 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, a 91.4 passer rating. You're going based off what you see with your eyes. If you look at the numbers, they wouldn't line up necessarily understand that because the numbers on the team are skewed because he's playing with a lower level of players around him, a worse team. I understand that. I would still take Ryan Tannehill because I've seen Ryan Tannehill do it multiple years. And also,
so you're telling me, wait a second. So you're telling me 3 or 4 years from now, Ryan Tannehill's better than Joe Burrow?
How old will Ryan Tannehill be in 3 or 4 years from now? Let me look at that first.
No, what, 32?
35. So, no, Joe Burrow will be better than him in 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so right now, Ryan Tannehill is 31 years old, in his prime, and we're having this debate.
I'm not denying the fact that Joe Burrow's a great quarterback.
Joe Burrow's better.
I wouldn't go that far.
The Tennessee Titans would be a better team with Joe Burrow. The Cincinnati Bengals would be a worse team with Ryan Tannehill.
No, I don't know if I would go that far, Mike. I really don't know
Really?
if I would go there.
You think Joe Burrow's ability, especially to run with the ball, would not make Tennessee's offense that much better? And do you really think Ryan Tannehill, who is similar to a little bit of a statue at the back, he's no Peyton Manning, but you think he would be able to survive behind the Bengals offensive line?
That fit wouldn't be good for him. But you would say, if you look at what they have receiving options right now, wouldn't you say that Joe Burrow has better receiving options than Ryan Tannehill?
You just made my point.
Yeah. He's got a better offensive line than Tennessee.
Tennessee has a better offensive line. They've got a better running game. Both defenses suck, but I would probably take Tennessee's over Cincinnati. Cincinnati's has played 2 games that were good this year. This just happened to be one of them. But once again, I don't think there's any way in good conscience you can tell me, when you look at him, Joe Burrow reads a defense as good as anybody in the NFL. His eyes are always downfield. He is the perfect quarterback.
No, you're going to have to give me more time to convince me on that one, Mike. I'm not going there right now.
Well, that's just because you're still pissed off because he destroyed Clemson in a national championship game last year, and you go to Clemson.
I bet on LSU to win that game, by the way.
Sure you did, Sam. Sure you did. All right, number 6, Deshaun Watson. I think Watson's better than Tannehill. If you go off the year they've had, I would go with Tannehill. 8, Drew Brees. Still got to see him throw the ball down the field. I don't think that's necessarily his fault. 9, Justin Herbert. I think it's too high right here. I think it seems like he throws 2 picks every game.
See, that was the one I legitimately had questions for you about too, because I thought Justin Herbert might have been too high in these rankings based on what he'd done the past couple of weeks. But really, you look down below him, there's not a huge amount of talent around him. This is the only 2 interception week, by the way, he's had the entire year. He hasn't thrown a pick since week 4. So he has only had 1 2-interception game in his career so far. It was this past weekend against Denver. So it's not like he's done this every other week. He hasn't. The only other guys below him I could see moving above him, Kyler Murray, maybe Ben Roethlisberger. You could argue Josh Allen. Other than that, there's not a lot of players who have been playing that well.
Yeah, but see, I think to have him at number 9 above Big Ben is stupid. Big Ben is still undefeated. He threw 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over, and he came through in the clutch in Baltimore against the Ravens team that was a heavy favorite to win this division to start the year. You're a Steeler fan. You're supposed to be a little bit of a homer here. But Big Ben has done what Big Ben's had to do for this team to win. And no, he's not putting up the numbers he did before. But the thing is this, he looks more like a quarterback now to me than he ever has. He's not forcing things. He's letting the game come to him. He's managing the game, and he's getting the wins.
Yeah, but that first half, that offense did not move against Baltimore. There was nothing going on whatsoever.
All right, so
he's had trouble moving the ball downfield. He's had trouble maybe 1 or 2 throws makes per game that are 20 yards down the field. Other than that, he's not going for any deep throws. And that offense is stagnant. The entire first half, no movement whatsoever.
All right, he had a passer rating over 100. When Baltimore scored a touchdown early in the 4th quarter, what did Big Ben do? He responded and he won the game. That's really the only thing that matters here, is he won the game. And he did not turn the ball over. Against the Baltimore Ravens, the Ravens-Steelers game was decided by what I said it would be. Big Ben is better than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson threw a pick 6 at the start of the game. Big Ben didn't throw any interceptions. He didn't turn the ball over. And in the end, the difference was Baltimore's quarterback turned the ball over. Pittsburgh's quarterback didn't.
Yeah, Baltimore turned the ball over 4 times, and one of those was a pick 6. That was the difference in the game. The fact that Steelers defense came out there and basically contained Lamar Jackson the entire day.
Yeah, so I would put Big Ben up above Kyler Murray also. I think Murray's had a good season. And I think there's a case to be made for Josh Allen just when you look at the totality of the season so far. That totality, I think, disappears with another game like he just had. So let's go ahead and look at 11 through 15. 11, you got Big Ben, which we've already decided between the 2 of us is stupid. Number 12, Josh Allen. I think he should be slightly higher. 13, Matt Stafford. I mean, he's a Detroit Lion. He is what he is. 14, Matt Ryan. 15, Derek Carr. I would say when I look at this, I would put Derek Carr above Matt Ryan and Matt Stafford, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, I moved him down a little bit because he did have a bit of a rough week against the Browns. But again, that could have been the game plan for the Raiders, and I'm not like in the know. I have no idea what their game plan was going against Cleveland.
Well, how
But it
about
could have been
this?
for them to throw
We
the
know
ball a
what
little
the
bit.
game plan was because they carried the ball 45 times for over 200 yards. So the game plan was him to not turn the ball over and them to just pound the Cleveland Browns, who are not as physical as the Las Vegas Raiders, no matter what Browns fans think. The Browns just aren't a very tough physical team. They are when they have Nick Chubb, but there's a big difference between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And I think when we look at this, I don't think that Derek Carr has a lot of huge passing options here. I mean, Waller to tight end is probably his best option. You get the young guy that can go deep once or twice a game. But outside of that, I don't think he's got near the options Matt Stafford or a Matt Ryan has. But I think he's outplayed them just because, once again, he's not turning the ball over, Sam. And the most important thing to being a great quarterback is to not turn the ball over.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I could see the football. I'm not going to fight you on this one like I did in the other ones, but this one I could see. I could see moving Derek Carr
I
up.
kicked your ass on both of the other ones. Go ahead.
No, I still think I'm right. I still think I won. But
You didn't.
I mean, really, let me put it this way: if we move up Derek Carr to 13, everything after that is basically a crapshoot, right?
No, because I believe this. I believe Philip Rivers, who you've got at 17, is too low. I think
Really.
Philip Rivers' last couple games has played really well. I know it was against the Bengals and the Lions, but right now he's got the Colts tied for first. And I think we've got to remember this. Even though he's an older quarterback, he's coming to a team with no preseason, basically. You know, there's no OTAs. They're doing Zoom meetings, and then they go in and they practice where they had to play patty cake up until the last 9 or 10 days of the camp. So I think Philip Rivers, I gave him a lot of grief at the start of the year. Also, I even said Jacoby Brissett would be a better option at that time. As at this point, I would say I was completely wrong on that because Philip Rivers, I think the last 2 weeks has shown that he's rounding into shape. And if he does, the Colts are a playoff team. You got Teddy Bridgewater at 16. I think that's probably about right. But Philip Rivers, I think, is too low at 17.
I mean, you talked a little bit about the totality of the season with Josh Allen and why he could be a little bit higher based on that spot. That's why I have Philip Rivers a little bit slower, a little bit lower. He has been hot in these past 2 weeks. Granted, again, it was against two really bad defenses. Hopefully, he continues to be hot streaks. I like the Colts. I like this Colts team. They have a good offensive line. They play Baltimore next week, so obviously I want them to win. But I think if he plays well against Baltimore's defense or even just doesn't turn the ball over, you'll see that jump you wanted him to have this week.
Well, I think this, if he doesn't turn the ball over, he's got a good chance to win. 18, Kirk Cousins, 19, Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a strong first part of the season, but the last few weeks, I don't think he's looked near as good. And let's face it, when you've got to throw the ball 61 times in the NFL, most teams that do that lose the game.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it happen with Pittsburgh in, 2018. Ben's last really healthy year. He ended up leading the league in passing yards. But they had, at that point, the defense was struggling, didn't have enough offensive weapons around him necessarily, and it ended up making the playoffs. Teams that have to throw the ball over 50 times a game are going to lose. And we saw it with the Bengals this year so far. We've seen it with the Rams to this point. And the Rams, to me, are trending downward. I know they beat the Bears last week and they just lost to the Dolphins. But if you have a good defense, you can abuse this Rams offense.
Yeah, number 20, you finally come to your senses and agree with me. Lamar Jackson. He was absolutely horrible, completed less than 50% of his passes, 65 passer rating, 54.9 over the last 4 games, 7 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and the 2 interceptions here lost them the game against Pittsburgh. So I still think, and this is what I've said since last year, I said it before they played their first playoff game, where I did pick the Titans to beat them. And when they play a good football team is going to force Lamar Jackson to beat them throwing the ball, and he's not good enough to get that done.
Yeah, we saw, I think, 3 different quarterbacks have 4 turnovers this weekend. So we saw a lot of heavy turnover games. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, Pittsburgh's defense, I love what I saw from Pittsburgh's defense out there. They will contain him entirely. You know what? He does not look comfortable whatsoever throwing from the pocket. I think this year, Baltimore is trying to use him more as a traditional pocket passer, trying to get him less to move outside the pocket, and it's not working. That offensive line now, without Ronnie Stanley, who's done for the year at left tackle, and Marshall Yonda, who retired, he was an All-Pro last year, suddenly this team looks a lot weaker, like significantly weaker, maybe potentially not even a top 10 team by the end of the year.
Yeah, and when you look at this, their next 4 games are huge because they play the Colts, They play the Patriots, which isn't as difficult as it used to be. They play the Titans. They play the Steelers. They could very easily lose 3 of those 4 games, Sam. And if they do, then all of a sudden they're just fighting for their life as a wild card team.
Yeah, you could really see things turn around here. That's what I'm saying. There could be a situation where Baltimore, if this offensive line doesn't stabilize, and you start having situations where the teams are able to contain Lamar Jackson, keep him in the pocket, and make him throw on their terms, suddenly Baltimore could really fall apart here.
Yeah, I think, what's the record right now? 5-2, 5-3, something like that.
I'll pull it up right now. They are 5-2.
Yeah, so I still think they're going to end up 11-5, but I do not think they are a threat to go to the Super Bowl. Not with Lamar Jackson. And I said this last year, and I caught a bunch of grief from it, especially from our friend Bobby Sheridan. But when I see him, I do not see an NFL passing quarterback. Just the way it is. He's a running back. So we're going to go ahead, and where are we at now? Somewhere between 17 and 22. Nick Mullins at 21. Gardner Minshew at 22. I would still have Gardner Minshew much higher. I'd have him at 21, Sam.
Is 21 much higher than 22, Mike?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think you can make the argument. Looking back, I don't know why I have Nick Mullins quite over Gardner Minshew. I should have had him. Maybe it was just a mistake. I should have had him over Jimmy Garoppolo because Nick Mullins did come in on Sunday and play significantly better than Garoppolo had the entire game.
Yeah, and then you've got Garoppolo at 23, Baker at 24. What happened to all those Browns fans that were saying Baker was back? I think Baker deserves to be higher than 24. Not much, but I do think he deserves to be higher than 24. I think when you see Nick Chubb come back, I think they're going to be able to beat up a lot of really bad football teams and maybe even slip into the playoffs. But if they slip into the playoffs, they're going to get, blasted out immediately in the first game they play. The Cleveland Browns are not very good. With Nick Chubb, they are dangerous because I think Nick Chubb's the best running back in football. So all this depends on when Nick Chubb comes back.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's very telling how you phrase that. They'll be good enough to beat a lot of bad football teams. They're not good enough to beat the good football teams. Even when Nick Chubb was healthy, they had struggles against Baltimore. They played Baltimore and they got blown out. Nick Chubb was healthy that game. So to me, there are serious concerns here with Cleveland. I'm interested to see how much more patience they have with Baker Mayfield moving forward.
All right, number 25, Carson Wentz. Probably about right the way he's played. I still think he's the reason they end up winning the NFC East, though, Sam. So he may suck, but he's better than everything else in the NFC East.
No, I'm totally right there with you. I was actually talking to my friend the other day saying if we put together a team made of all the best players from the NFC East, could they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or could they beat the Kansas City Chiefs? And we were like, well, we don't really know. But Carson Wentz would be the quarterback because he's better right now than any other quarterback for the starting teams in that division. Doug Pearson's a good football coach. This team will find a way eventually.
All right, Drew Lock, who was terrible in the first half, got hot in the second half at number 26. Nick Foles at 27. I think that's kind of, for lack of a better term, stupid, Sam.
I know. For Drew Lock, one very good game, one very good half where they beat the Chargers. Nick Foles, up and down. Good game this week, honestly, compared to what he's done the past couple of weeks. I can see why you were a little upset by that.
I'm not upset by it, Sam, because I don't really care. Number 28, Kyle Allen. 29, Tua Tagovailoa, whatever the hell his name is. I don't know. I'm fine with that. 30, Cam Newton. 31, Sam Darnold. I do believe Sam Darnold should be ahead of Cam Newton, just because he has to play in New York for Adam Gase.
Yeah, I can give you that. I mean, I don't know. Are they just keeping around Adam Gase at this point just to purposely lose games? Because he's helping them lose, certainly.
Number 32, Daniel Jones. 33, Ben DiNucci. I will tell you this right now. I think there's a better chance 3 years from now Ben DiNucci is a starting quarterback in the NFL than Daniel Jones.
You know what? I watched the game last night. Daniel Jones, for whatever reason, he just seems so inaccurate, right? I mean, he'll miss guys by 5 yards. I don't understand it to some degree. The guys will be open downfield, and he'll throw the ball either 5 yards over their head or throw it out of bounds instead of up the sideline. I don't get why he's so just off target. And he's an NFL quarterback. This guy's taken in the first round for crying out loud. I don't know how you miss this bad.
Yeah. All right. We got some NFL trade news. A few updates there, Sam. Has been some interesting stuff here. The Chargers traded cornerback Desmond King to the Titans for a 2021 6th-round draft pick. I think everybody wins here. King gets a fresh start with a contender after getting lost in the shuffle in L.A. The 2018 All-Pro selection is an immediate upgrade in the slot for a Titans secondary that is struggling, to say the least. So I think this is a good move by the Titans.
Oh, this is an excellent move by the Titans. You basically give up nothing. King's contract is up after this year, so it might only be like an 8-game rental for you. But still, this is a fantastic move. You're trying to stop a 2-game slide here. And that defense for them has been probably the weak. I mean, that's been the weak link for them so far. They have Ryan Tannehill. They have Derrick Henry. That defense has not been able to get pressure. They haven't been able to cover very well. I mean, they're recovering from losing Logan Ryan in the offseason. They need Desmond King can really help them out here at the slot level. I think he'll rebound because he's actually having a pretty good year so far with the Chargers. So picking him up for Tennessee for, what was it, a 6th-round pick, I'm totally fine with that. That's a great move.
All right, the 49ers traded linebacker Quan Alexander to the Saints for linebacker Kiko Alonso, a conditional 5th-round pick. This is just a year and a half after signing Alexander to a 4-year, $54 million deal. The 49ers are moving on. Injuries limited Alexander to just 13 games in San Francisco. The Niners will absorb $6.9 million in dead money next year, but save $8.6 according to overthecap.com from what I see here. The Saints, I think, continue to go all in to try to win a Super Bowl. Does Quan Alexander give him a better chance to do that, Sam?
I mean, if he's on the field, potentially, but he hasn't been on the field much recently. He's had injury concerns, even dating back to his time in Tampa Bay in 2018. He played 6 games. In 2019, he played 8 games. It did not look good in those 8 games. And this year, 5 games into the season, he's still nowhere near the Pro Bowl player he was in 2017. So to me, this gives him a slight advantage maybe because Kiko Alonso wasn't playing for you that much. He wasn't meaning much to your defense. This is an upgrade for something over nothing. I think the 49ers actually win this, though, because they get rid of some cap. They don't want to have him around because he's older and he's getting hurt. I think the 49ers actually come out on the better side of this deal than the Saints.
All right, and the luckiest man on the face of the earth, Avery Williamson, who goes from an Adam Gase-led 0-8 team to a 7-1 or 7-0 team. The Jets trade him in a 7th-round pick, 2022, to the Steelers for a 2022 pick. My question is this. Nobody in Pittsburgh is going to mistake Williamson for the injured Devin Bush. I think his coverage woes are very worrisome. Maybe shores up, gives a little bit more depth, but Avery Williamson doesn't do a whole lot for me here.
No, I agree with you. I was excited to hear there was a move. I'm a little underwhelmed by who they got because Robert Spillane, let me put it this way. Robert Spillane, who had the pick 6 in the game the other day, he had 11 tackles. He's a run-stopping linebacker. He's not a coverage linebacker. Neither is Vince Williams. Neither of these guys are coverage linebackers for Pittsburgh. And Avery Williamson is not a coverage linebacker either. To me, this is more of a lateral move from Spillane to Williamson. Williamson is a starter, though, is a long-time starter, so maybe you get a little something extra there. But it's only a slight upgrade over Spillane to me. This is not a huge jump.
All right. Anything you think is going to happen before the trade deadline, which is here in the next hour or two?
I heard John Ross isn't getting moved, which is not shocking, but
nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. We got to trade him for an 8th-round pick. There's only 7 rounds in the draft.
Yeah, it's not shocking, but I mean, there would have been an opportunity here where Cincinnati plays a little bit differently. You could have got a 6th or 7th rounder for him. Not that that makes a huge difference.
The only way they could have done that is if they would have just activated him and played him for a few weeks, throw a couple deep balls to him and get somebody interested. But the Bengals as an organization don't have the foresight to do that.
No, they don't. Now, the Patriots, interesting and left there, open to trading Stephon Gilmore, but would have to be for a 1st-round pick and for a player as well. And if you're a competitive team, like if you're the Seattle Seahawks, would you trade a 1st-round pick for Stephon Gilmore?
How long is left on his contract, and what's it do to my salary cap?
I'll open it up right now. But Stephon Gilmore is 30 years old currently, ranked Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to pull up his contract right now. But I would think they're going to give you a couple more years on his deal. It's not the worst deal, I know, just outright, because I've looked at the numbers before. Looks like 5 years, $65 million. I don't know what the year is yet because my computer's being slow. But
I can say this. If I'm the Seattle Seahawks and I can get the best cornerback in the game right now, I would do it.
Yeah, I would think if it's monetarily possible, I would absolutely go for this move because Stephon Gilmore is a heck of a player. And right now, he seems to be a little discontent in New England. He's got 2 more years left on his deal. Oh, no, 1 more year on his deal after the season. It's one of the cheaper years on his contract. I don't think it would be a huge cap. I think you'd be able to survive it from the looks of it.
All right, Sam. Anything else we want to discuss before we wrap it up?
Not much. I was hoping to have Sam McGinnis on the show, but he kind of left us hanging a little bit.
Why would we want to have Sam McGinnis on the show?
Yeah, you're right.
I know. But He was a coward. He jumped out because he realized that we were doing a quarterback power ranking show, and everything he said about Tom Brady at the start of the year was absolute crap by now.
Wasn't he the one who had Kirk Cousins like number 6 or something like that?
Yes, that's where I was going after that. So we
Well,
don't need
never
to
gonna
have him
forget.
on that. Maybe he'll want to come on the power ranking show tomorrow where we will rank all 32 teams in the NFL where they sit right now. Of course, the Steelers will be number 1. The Bengals are number 2 until the Bengals beat them next week. Correct?
That's like 2 weeks from now, I think, right? I get one
Yeah,
more week of Steelers
that's
happiness.
going to be your first loss. And that show is going to be really, really make me happy. Because
No, don't worry.
Joe Burrow is going to go and just blow them out of the water. Hell, I'm thinking maybe now the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. But let's go ahead and let's wrap the show up then. So, Sam, if I was to say, how would you make your balls happy? What would you say would be the best thing to do to make your balls happy?
Well, I would say you got to go get the Lawnmower 3.0 at manscaped.com and use promo code TGT20 at checkout for 20% off your first order and free shipping.
Damn it, you've been practicing, Sam?
No, I just I just off the top of my head. I've listened to so many commercials over the years. I just got locked on with them.
I mean, you can even get in the shower, turn the lights off, and still shave your balls safely because of the light that is on the Lawnmower 3.0.
Yeah, it helps you see things you can't normally see.
So, just from experience, Sam, what did you see that you never knew you had?
No. Just buy it. Just go to manscaped.com. Use promo code TGT20. Just buy it.
Yeah, you also get free shipping and 20% off your first order just by using the promo code TGT20 at manscaped.com. You can follow Sam Teets at SamTeets33. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. You can hear us on Rockfin. You want to do a Rockfin show later on today about coaches on the hot seat, Sam?
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
All right.
I mean,
so
look,
just keep an eye out.
Yeah, I should
And
be able to do it.
the only way you'll be able to see that show is to go to Rockfin, sign up. You can sign up for free. You get premium content like that show. You get content from people like Jason Burmas, Tom Lemming, college football guru, $9.99 a month, but it's free to sign up. So make sure you check out Rockfin there for exclusive content that is uncensored, unlike YouTube. And check out Replenishing Care and Technologies at rcandt.com. So for now, for Sam Teets, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.